It is the Q&A, the best time of Sunday. Well, no, actually, I can't say that, but worship is the best time on Sunday. Yeah. But the second best time, Q&A. This is where you ask questions, any questions about Christianity, any questions about the sermon, and any questions about City Church. We take 5 questions maximum, not five questions maximum, not 5 people. 5 questions maximum, and we take some online, we take some in the house. Where's the roving mic? If it comes, please, they will hold the mic for you. You don't have to hold the mic. Who has a question? Go first time. We'll definitely take yours. Lola has a question. I don't like that look on your face. All right, Lola has a question. Who else? Do we have any question online then? Are you checking?
No, my phone is not on me.
Your phone is off.
My phone is not with me.
Okay, you're tech-wise.
No, I'm not tech-wise.
All right, let me see. Do we have any from any online? None from WhatsApp. Thomas? None from WhatsApp. Hey, Thomas. None. Oh, good. That means today we're going to flex. We'll finish on time. All right. Oh, Sammy. Sammy has a question. Okay. So, Gogo, Lola, and Sammy. All right. With that regard, that means you guys can ask more than one question because you can take 5. But you don't have to. In fact, you shouldn't. Let's start with Lola. Little red right here.
Oh, okay. So Gami said something about reaching people, but provided that it's still under the confines of the law, which makes sense. But then he also mentioned the man from China who had to smuggle Bibles in. And so my question is, on one hand, obviously if you're chilling with sinners and doing things that are illegal, it follows that the consequences, and you shouldn't have done that. However, how do you marry Romans 13 and things like that, and also the mandate of the kingdom of God? So Romans 13 talks about respecting the government, obeying laws, civic laws, and all those things. So how do you bring those things together?
In situations where you'll be going against the law to actually convert people. Take some countries in the Middle East, for instance, that we know. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Lola. Gogo, and then Sam. They'll hold it for you, don't worry.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
I just wanted to find out, we've been talking about evangelizing to people and trying to bring people to church. So how do you guys explain the fact that you don't have female preachers? For example, if I wanted to explain that to someone that I was inviting to church, because the church has gotten to a stage where, most churches have female preachers that, female people in the audience can connect to. So how do you explain your position on that? I tried to watch a video about Tim Keller and Don Carson talking about it, but they didn't really, hit,
where you were going.
Yes, where I was going. So how do you guys explain it? I just want to know in your own words how you explain it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Taiwo, you are guaranteed to always clap. For 6 years, you'll be clapping like that. Anytime something like this comes up. Oh, now we have a WhatsApp question. All right. Okay. Sammy, go ahead.
So while preaching, you mentioned 1 Corinthians 9 verse 22, and you were like, we should do what sinners are doing, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, for example, now, most sinners, from a very different perspective, you might see them at the clubs, I don't know, just random places. Are you saying that we should go and Bible with them for a bit and preach the gospel on them? Please drink small, just after that, head of Jesus Christ or something.
Drink in the name of Jesus, a little bit.
Oh my!
Or party in the name of the Lord,
Right.
kind of thing. All right, great. Nice question, Sammy.
Very good.
Yeah. This question, not very clear, but I think I'll try and make sense of it. It becomes asked, what does it mean when you are struggling to have a good Christian community or finding one? What does it mean? Because since I think you're online, so if you can just help a little bit with what does it mean? Is it what does it mean? What does it say about you? Or is it what do you do when you're struggling to? And so if you can, please just help elaborate on that, and you can send that in. And Toma, once Ibuku sent it, then we'll know. Okay, so let me start with the easiest question. The easiest one, Google's question. Easy. How do I explain the position that we don't have female preachers? There is no position against female preachers here. No, there's none. There is a position on being a qualified preacher according to how we would see preaching. So once we find a lady that would be able to do that, absolutely fine. But there are just a number of parameters that are required to preach here. But I would say this, just hold on. Something's cooking. That's all I would say. Just hold on. Something's cooking. So we don't have a position against female preachers in St. Church. Yeah. We don't have a position against female leaders in St. Church. I mean, there are female leaders everywhere in St. Church, so no position against it. All right. Huh? Is Delmo asking a question?
Why? Auntie D, why?
Is Auntie D
Why
my bestie?
you?
Is my bestie asking a question? You've never asked a question before. She
Why
says
you?
she's not
No,
asked.
she's not.
Okay. So the other, you have a question. He's running.
Kidding.
Let's ask him. He has a question. Yes. Now he's hiding. Does he? Yes. Do you have a question? You just raised up your hand. Okay, I'm not seeing it. All right. So that's, as I said, easiest one. Lola's question, was it on the sermon? Or which one?
Yeah, Lola and Sammy.
Lola and Sammy were
on the sermon. Then you now later do the community one.
I do the community
After
one.
I give mine, then you now summarize my own. And
Then summarize your own and correct it, and then give the right one.
Exactly. So,
What's the last question?
No, the
again?
last one is smuggling of Bibles.
And how do we marry basically
Yes,
the legality and
yes.
yes, go ahead.
Yes. So in essence, but like, do you want to be like that guy, Andrew? You don't mind? Why would you want to be like him? Wait for the mic.
So I see the importance of what he's doing.
You see the importance. So because why do you think it's important?
So I would argue that the salvation of your souls is more important than, I guess, jail.
Okay. So that means you go ahead to smuggle Bibles if you have to, right? Because you feel like what that is leading to, what that is doing is more important than being jailed, you mean?
So I wouldn't snitch on someone smuggling Bibles. I don't know if I would be brave enough to actually do the smuggling.
But okay.
If I know someone smuggling, cool.
Cool. Exactly. So that was me too. Cool. So no, but exactly. Like you made the point. So it's that yes, there are laws of the land, there are laws of countries, there are laws placed by leaders. But every law, there's a law that supersedes all laws, right? The law of God, right? The land in which that law is being made, the people who are making that laws are subject to one king. They are made by a particular creator. So in the case where their laws antagonizes the law of this king, and if you being a diligent follower of this king, and say, no, I want to obey your laws as much as is in line with the laws of my king and my creator. I'm going to follow it all the way, right? But once it antagonizes the law of my king, and he's giving this great commission, for in this case, to preach the gospel, no. I'm going to do whatever it takes in my power within the boundaries to go ahead and do that. And I think that is one way then someone like Andrew was being spoiled. And people are doing all kinds of things. It's not just about smuggling Bibles. Even in Nigeria, people are doing in the north. People are taking all kinds of risks. People are going into those places where they are, for instance, not just smuggling, but there are different things. People are meeting churches on the ground. People are sneaking into like mosque and Islamic regions to just preach the gospel. So people are doing all kinds of things. It's not just about smuggling the Bible, and they are doing it because of that reason that you gave, right? So I think that is a simple way to look at it. There are definitely instances where it's sneaky. We're not sure whether, this law, is it a do or die affair? Should we really not do? That is where we can now sit down and deliberate country by country, city by city, person by person. There are those instances. But in the case of this evangelist, this is a clear thing. So the way people will go about it might be different, but we know that this is clear enough. That's what I would say. Pastor has preached a series on, how politics interfaces with our personal responsibility and the kingdom and the gospel. I think it's called For God and Country. So we can also listen.
Just good.
Okay, just God and country, yes. God and country. So you can listen to that. I'm sure Pastor will have more to say. So, but I want to quickly tie it to Sammy's question. So first of all, I did not really say that you should do what sinners do. Do you understand? So that text again is, Paul kept saying, to the Jews I became the Jews, like the Jews. To the weak I became the weak. You see, when he says, but to those under the law I became as under the law, you see, but he put in brackets. If the text is brought up, you see in bracket. You see, but I don't do anything that's under the law. I don't do anything that's not under the law. Paul is saying, in this case, you can actually ask, how far is too far? This is the case where it's right. When we talk about it in terms of relationships, when people are asking, how far is too far? Should I kiss? Should I hug? Should I run? You ask how far is. No, don't ask how far is too far there. You want to stay away as possible. But in the case of evangelism, how far is too far? You want to see what is the farthest I can go without breaking the law of God. Do you understand? To spread the gospel, anything for the sake of the gospel. So let me give you this instance. So for some reason, some people might say, so the other day I was doing something with TJ, for instance. And then we're not playing in the background, we're having a shoot. And so we're not playing like music in the background. We're playing, music, Ashake, all of those vibing music, sounds in the background, blah, blah. So we're vibing in the room. And then there were other people there, brothers and sisters in church. I think maybe it's Olaiton or somebody, not Olaiton. Olaiton too loves Ashake. He listens to it a lot. But there was somebody else. Maybe it's Barbara or somebody else. I've forgotten. So the person has said...
Barbara on the music team.
Barbara on the music team, yeah. Barbara, no be me, oh. Barbara, you're not employed now. Don't worry, if they bounce from music team, come and serve on the welcome team. No, you know we bounce. So someone has just said that, leader, you know Ashake lyrics. So I laughed it up then. Teaching responded. Teaching said something like, no, leave Dami now. He's an evangelist. So he needs to know all these things, what's happening, so that he can, vibe in the kidney. So this is what I want to say. Everybody, like everybody on his kidney. So
in his own lane, translate.
Translate. Everybody on his own lane. Everybody has his own vibe. And this is what I mean. Is that the kind of work that I do, the kind of people that I interact with, I thought people who work and spend most of the time in the entertainment scene. So I vibe with them a lot. And me, just naturally, I now like good music. Do you understand? Whether it's Christian or it's not Christian, I love good music, good sound, good vibe, everything. So that's part of how I know what is good here. I bring it to my own work, and insert some of the stuff. I look at, when I preach sometimes, it can be funny, it can not be funny. Where do you think I'm learning those things from? I take some of what I learn in my work and I kind of put into my work, the good parts of it. So there's that side. But I'm saying in the side of me knowing those things so that I can be able to relate with guys or with people in that sector, it is important. But then, Pastor has preached before. If that is all I now do, all the kind of music that I listen to is, you look at my playlist, you just see, Ashake. Bana. No, I don't listen to Bana. Whiskey, all the way. Cancel Bana. So, we now have all of that in my playlist. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's what I'm listening to. Then there's a problem, you have to check. This guy, something is up here. Even if I tell you that I'm doing it so that I can win weak, I'm doing it so that I can win sinners, no. Like, what am I actually giving to them? So what I'm saying is, as much as you're trying to relate to the sinners, what you have to have a rhythm in your life. I have a rhythm. God help me, I have a rhythm. where my devotion, my listening to Christian songs, singing with my son every night, hymns from sacred songs and solos. I have church service, all of that I plug into that keeps me grounded, strong in my faith. So that even when I have these rhythms of evangelism, things that make me connect to people, I have not lost, I have not, by God's grace, I'm not losing my ground that I'm on. I know what I'm doing. I know who I am. I know where I'm coming from. It will not shake me. So everybody has to ask themselves, if you don't have these fundamental rhythms that allow you form and express your Christian identity, then maybe you should be careful about not trying to be, sinners or being with sinners and working with sinners. So you have to really watch it and engage with it carefully. So you must having this while having that. You understand? I hope that makes any sense. Yes.
So I won't add to the answer on Samson. Brilliant. And one on Lola's one, just want to say one or two things. So 1 Peter 2, in verse 12. Live such good lives among the pagans that, though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits us. Verse 13. I'm going to 17. So 13. No. Okay. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether to the emperor as the supreme authority or to governors who are sent by him to punish those who do wrong and to commend those who do right. For it is God's will that by doing good, you should silence the ignorant talk of foolish people. Live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover-up for evil. Live as God's slaves. Show proper respect to everyone. Love the family of believers. Fear God. Honor the emperor. This really is, I would say, even probably more than Romans 13. This is really the heart of how Christians who are called to preach the gospel and also live in a society, this is probably the strongest text that enables us to know exactly what to do. Notice what it does. It's not very prescriptive. And it is possible to read that text and then say, yeah, I'm going to smuggle Bibles. And it's possible to read that text and say, I'm not going to smuggle Bibles. It doesn't say, this is exactly what you should do. It tells you what the goals are. And as you think about the goal of what we're trying to do, to get people to glorify God, that is to get people to be converted, you may then think about your personality, you may think about your gifting, you may think about what God has laid particularly in your heart that enables you to then say, this is what I'm going to do. Christians often have we're often asked, why is it that in the Bible, slavery is not condemned wholeheartedly? Why didn't Paul condemn slavery? We often ask that. And I would say it's because of something like this. That is, what Paul felt was exactly what Peter was talking to a people who, they were the minority at that point. The Christians were the minority in that point. And there was heavy persecution. And what Peter was basically saying is, yeah, so there's a time when you can go, risk your life, do all of that. And then he's also saying, but there's a time where survival of the group is actually important, because if we survive in this generation and multiply, the next generation will be able to have more leverage and more power for us to be able to do what we are called to do. So actually, you guys prioritize not being singled out in the society for persecution. Honor the emperor. But at the same time, the same Peter and the same Paul, not long after, when they talk about slaves and they talk about slaves and slave masters, they address them. Peter does that. Maybe verse 18. Verse 18, quickly. 2 Peter, verse 18. That's the verse following. It says, slaves, in reverent fear of God, submit yourself to your masters. Like, see, condone slavery, not only to those who are good and considerate, but also those who are harsh. For it's commendable if someone bears up under the pain of unjust suffering because they are conscious of God. Then where does it? Is it this one that he addresses? Where is it? Is it this one? No, maybe it was Colossians. I think it's Colossians 3 that I'm looking for. Colossians 3. Colossians 3. Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything. Colossians 3:22. And do it not only when their eye is on you and to curry their favor, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. Whatever you do, work at it with all your da. Then in chapter 4, verse 1, it says, Masters, provide your slaves with what is right and fair, because you know that you also have a master in heaven. It addresses, this is what is radical about this. It addresses the slaves and the masters as though they are equals, because they are equals in Christ. So I say, well, that's not if you are in the first century talking to a slave and a master. Even in all the other religions, that dichotomy was recognized. They wouldn't worship together. They wouldn't do certain things together. I've forgotten the other reference where it says that because they are your brothers. It's like, what? To be able to say a slave and a slave master are brothers, that is the ultimate equalization. And it is stuff like that. It is the letter to Philemon where Paul talks about Onesimus taking Philemon back. Philemon taking Onesimus back, and he says, because he's your brother. It was truths like that generations after Christians that came after were able to use those truths from the revelation to then say, we want to undermine the system of slavery. It was Christians, particularly, that fought for the end of slavery. So the point is, why didn't they say it at that time? Well, because strategically, they didn't think that the gospel at its infancy should be put under the kind of persecution that will end the Christian community. Now, but there are some places where they feel, no. Like when China, when the revolution, when Mao's revolution came in China, there were Christians there. There was the Kiniko Inland Mission. They were all driven out. People decided to stay underground, and they continued. That's another kind of thing. So all I'm saying is, there is a dance between sometimes living out this great commission when we are under unjust laws, where we may decide strategically to work in a stealth-like way under those unjust laws, keeping the laws. And there are other times where we can decide to break what is an unjust law to continue the propagation of the gospel of Christ. So we mustn't condemn people who weren't as brave as, Andrew, right? But neither should we say Andrew and Deborah type people are the only ones that are doing the wonderful Christian thing because they are martyrs. There are people, I know a number of people who are in underground Islamic ministries, right, that are doing amazing work, right? They know why they are in the countries that they are in, and they decided, well, we're going to be doing this thing. It's somewhat illegal. Whereas I know some people in the countries that they are, in order to submit to the king and all of that, they set up their churches. They said, don't evangelize to our people. They don't evangelize to their people. But that has enabled them to have favor with the government and has enabled them to plant more and more churches. Believe me, one day, those people that they said they should not be evangelized to, some of those people themselves will convert. And so that's what I would say about that. Okay. Final question. Ibuko did, I believe, Ibuko says, yeah. Yes, what do you do basically when, I believe being in a Christian community is important, but it can be a bit of a struggle being involved and needed and utilized as much as you would like. Oh, okay. Is it what do you do when you're struggling to have a good Christian community? Or is it that being in a good Christian community is very, very involving, and so you may not always be able to give the time? So I'm a bit confused now with the elaboration. Let me see if I can try and answer both. Whichever one it is, it will fall. So what do you do when you are not in a good Christian community, assuming that you can't find a good Christian community around you? I mean, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, I used to say something that a lot of other people used to say, like, it's there, just look for it, just find. But the truth is that it's not always there for a variety of reasons. It's not always there. Maybe you've come to a certain understanding of the faith and you feel like the churches around you are not expressing in that way. And I know it can be hard. Some people have called in different parts of Nigeria and say, when is City Church coming? When is City Church coming? They're like, no, it's not like that. So I can understand that. What I would say is this. Sometimes we do have to say, I would choose. Well, first of all, there are genuine churches, and there are genuine churches that are not always great, but they are genuine. There are some churches that I would say, if they preach a false gospel and the false gospel is central to how they've organized their ministry, then that's a sort of like an apostate church. But for a lot of people, what they find is that there is a genuine church, but the church is just not, let's say you are the very, very charismatic type, right? You believe like presence of God, you want to hear prophecies, you want to hear them speaking in tongues from the stage and in the whatever, and then the church that that is around you is a Bible study kind of church, a Baptist Bible study kind of, not it's not City Church, it's not, it's not us. But imagine that's the kind of church that is there. Now, I do think you that is charismatic, you believe in God, you believe that God has inspired the scriptures. I think there's a place of maturity to say, this is not the ideal of what I would want. But nonetheless, these are people who are my brothers and sisters. And I cannot be somebody that is going to be a Lone Ranger Christian. So, you go there. You submit and you be part there. Don't cause division. The things you don't like, as long as you have they've given you the ability to influence it, to the extent that they've given you the ability to influence it, try and change things. But don't go there and they gave you one opportunity to do exhortation, and that's when you now started condemning everything in the church. There are people that do that. You may have said the truth, but you are so foolish and immature if you do that kind of thing. Because you can now start discipling one-on-one people, a lot of people do it, you now start giving them sermons of City Church to show that the people here are not preaching. Please never use any of our sermons to do that. Don't cause division. As long as they have, to the extent that they've given you authority to be able to influence things, only to that extent bring the authority. Under no circumstance should you use truth as a means to bring about division. People have sown in that church. People have laid foundations in that church, and you want to come and destroy it. And then don't forget that sometimes there are things that we believe today that 5 years from now, we don't believe again. What if that church actually is 5 years ahead of you? Then you now go and cause division and do all of the things. You leave the church. 5 years after, you now realize that church was good, but you have already scattered the church. God won't forget it. You will still be admitted to heaven, all of that, but God will flog you for it. Small flogging, maybe. All right? So, this is why I'm saying there is under no circumstance, if you find you can't really coexist in a church, you can't at all, because leave. But don't try and cause division. But maybe if you behave in a right way, they may notice something inside you. They may say, you know what? I like the way this person has more knowledge than the pastor, but respects and submits to the pastor. And the pastor is like, I really like that. Do you mind teaching a Bible study on some of these things that you are saying? That's how you can influence, and maybe you can stay. Now, what if you don't find that one? What if you don't find one where on secondary issues you disagree, but on secondary issues you agree, but you agree on primary issues? What if on primary issues and secondary issues, and not just theology, but actually their practice, you find it to be an abusive church? Don't go there. If those are all the churches that are around you, within 10 minutes, maybe there is 40 minutes from here, you now say, but that is stressful. Yes, it is the price you should pay for being part of a church. What if it is 2 hours, 3 hours away? Okay, now, then I'll say, log on to City Church and join our online gospel community. But know that as you do that, this is not the ideal. That this is we allow for these kinds of things, not because we are saying, that's why we say, sadly, if all you do is online online worship with us, online gospel community. You are part of us, but there's a level to being part of us you can't be. You can't be a member because then we can't hold you accountable in what you are doing there. We're happy for you to continue doing these things, but I'm trying to say that's not the ideal. So you should also be praying all the time for God to help you to be in a community. One of the things we tell people who relocate and all of that, please find a church. Just find. Don't just log on. In fact, watch our service at the end of the day, but in the morning, just try, look for a church. So that's what I would say. Now, if you say it is quite involving to be in a church and all of that, I would say that's what it's meant to be. It's involving for the people that are serving you to be able to serve you. So it should be involving for you to serve them. Now, sometimes we are in particular seasons of our lives where we need to step back a bit. Know that it's a season. There are some people here, they used to do ACCA. All you ACCA people, I know ACCA is over now, Abi. You've done, so you better come back. Or ABC should start. So sometimes you have to study for a particular season and you do some things. Fine, it's good. Watch your calendar. Sometimes you need to take a break. There are a number of people here that said, I just want to take a break from GC leadership for a while. Fantastic. Good. We give you that break. But after you've done that break, you will come back. The Lord has appointed you to a place. All right? So I would say, no, it's meant to be involving because the life of a church, of someone in a church is not just about being served, but it's about serving. And we follow Jesus Christ, who served by giving his life as a ransom for many. It cost him his life. So it should cost you something. All right, finally, that was it.
I think that's, but we want you to be part of us.
No. Oh, same person. Oh.
Person saying thank you.
All right. She's saying thank you, Abby.
Thank you very much for that powerful response.
Nope. It hasn't come in. Should I just check YouTube? All right, let me just check YouTube. Sorry, my question. Okay. Questions all over the place. What I mean is you don't get utilized as you like in the Christian communities you have joined. Almost like there is no opportunity to serve and you don't feel needed and it's continuous occurrence. Oh, okay. If you don't feel utilized, and sometimes that happens, though, that truly does happen. There may be reasons why they don't want to utilize you. I mean, there have been one or two people that have in church indicated to us that they have this particular gift. The problem is that they told us they had that gift on their second time coming. And we're like, we thank the Lord that you have that gift. Now go and sit down. You don't have to. We will find out. But be a member. We need to trust you. We need to understand. Especially when you want to serve in a place that is a bit sensitive. We need to find out. So sometimes there may be reasons why you are not being utilized. Now, if it is the way they structured the church that is inefficient, that maybe is not able to, utilize some of the gifts that you are given, there may be some things. It may just be, okay, stack the chairs. Stack the chairs. That's something that you can do. Clean the chairs. Serve within the way things have been set for you to serve. When you do this faithfully and they really like you, you can then start to suggest, how about if we did this? Pastor, I don't want to, I love this church, blah, blah, everything. I was just thinking that can we do this thing? Many people have come to meet me for different things that we can do. Not all do we approve. Sometimes I explain and say, oh, this is why we don't do this, but thank you. And then some others have suggested, I'm like, maybe we will not do it in this form, but actually, let me go back and talk to some of the leaders and staff, whatever, and then we bring it, we create the opportunity in this other way. Some other times we've said, this thing you are talking about is absolutely true. We just don't have the right people and the time, but we'll do this maybe 6 months from now. So, but all I would say to you, Bukun, is that there are fewer things more appealing to leaders in an organization or in a church when you honor them by submitting to what is actually there. There's something about sometimes, I'm not saying this is what you do, but I do see that people do it, that, the journey come lately and the person that knows it all and comes in and just says, this isn't this isn't that, this isn't that, very, very quickly. I mean, people that do that, quite frankly, the people that come in, they start suggesting things they want, they too. I'm like, in fact, if the person stays, we're happy that they stay, but I will not mind when those people go because they're always trouble. They're always trouble. They always have something to say. So the way one submits and honors is like dishonor because, like, do you think that we haven't thought about those things? Or do you think that we've been playing before you came? No. So honor what is there. Try to understand why they don't do it. Submit and serve within that context. And when they notice you, that gives you more access to be able to then suggest certain things. And if they still don't take it, if that is the only church that is around, still be there. And then supplement yourself with other things. That's what I would say. All right. God bless you. Sorry if I didn't answer it well. Thank you all. You have been a good audience. I hope you have been enlightened, empowered, and now that you've received this, guys, now that you've been discipled, go. There are people outside there buying cake, buying whatever. Go and make Q&A disciples of them and bring them back to next week. Amen. God bless you.